doing? We are going to, welcome to Nick Duber Max, by the way, tech videos that mostly look at BMW motorcycles, but today we're doing something that applies to any motorcycle that has wheels. So as long as your motorcycle has wheels, what we're about to do could apply to you. So we're gonna pull the bearings out of these wheel hubs. You may have seen the video where I took the wheels apart, but now we got the hubs, and we're gonna take the bearings out and the spacers so that I can clean them and get them powder coated for the new rims and spokes. This job is not one that you have to have specialized tools for, but there are some special tools that make the job easier. So I'll point those out as we go along. The first special tool that makes this job easier is a seal puller, which you can get at any auto parts store for 10 or 15 or 20 bucks, and it just makes this real quick. So I'm going to change the angle of the camera, and you're going to see what we do, and we'll explain the tools as we go along. All right, so they have two sides on them, or this one does, kind of short, kind of long, so we'll see which one works. And we're just going to pull these seals out, hopefully. Probably have more leverage if I'd have left it in. Whoops, there it goes, flew out. Sorry about that. Flip it over, and there's no seal on this side, so we don't have to pull anything out of that one. Now this has a spacer in it. On the ground. All right, George is doing an excellent job holding. There, so the seals are out. Those are the first things out and the last things in. Now, we can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's some snap rings in there. So we're gonna have to get a pair of snap ring pliers to get these snap rings out so that we can pull the bearings. So, all right, so these are in this form, these can be either squeeze together or pull apart. Just depends on how you configure the tool. So right now we're in squeeze together mode. So we're gonna get in here. And the snap rings have two little holes in them. So you just put the prongs of the tool in the little holes, you squeeze together and snap. And then you do it again because you messed it up. Takes a little coordination, doesn't it? So my phone rang in the middle of our video, and I didn't realize that a ringing phone shuts off the video function. So we did a bunch of work that didn't get captured on video. So I'm going to tell you what we did. We used this thing, which is a bearing puller, although not a very high quality one. And basically you get it down in there, you spread it out, and then you use a slide hammer to pull the bearing out, but that didn't work. So our second try was to put some heat on it. We heated this up to about, we used a heat gun, we heated it up to about 115 or 120 degrees because aluminum expands more quickly than steel. They expand at different rate when heat's applied, and tried that, and that didn't work either. Then we took some big tools and tried to cram it out from the other side, and that didn't work either. And now you're all caught up on the parts of the video that you missed because my stupid phone rang. Update, we're just gonna bang the hell out of them until we get them out and use inappropriate tools because that's what we have. And like I said, we're not saving the bearings, so we don't need to be careful. We just have to make sure we don't damage the hubs.
The inner spacer, we've pushed over. We just took a big screwdriver, put it down at the edge, gave it a tap, knocked it over a little bit. So that gives us a lip to rest our
long tool.
Cheap socket extension against.
And it's moving. I don't know if you can see that, but now the bearing's in there crooked, so we know we're making progress.
So now we gotta rotate the sleeve around to get it to the other side. That smack was us hitting the table.
So do you just use a big screwdriver? Oh no, we make a spacer with some wood.
Now this is making a lot of noise and sounding like I'm hitting it really hard.
You're
but
not
I'm
really
not.
using a ton of force.
It's just gentle tapping.
There you go. All right, so you can see there's the bearing is now out, and there's the spacer that we knocked to the side to get it out. So now we're gonna get the other bearing out the same way by tapping it. Here, why don't you let me do this one? Gently.
Gently.
You gonna hold it?
Equally. Well, I need to hold it.
Gently.
You see this has a play. And you'll have to have that centered when we put the new bearings in. But
You know what we probably should have done? We probably should have made a note of which end the snap ring was in.
the only side it'll fit in.
Oh yeah, this side has a wide groove. This side has just a tiny narrow groove that holds the seal in. So that's the side for that. All right, let's put that out of the way. These are gonna go in, this is aluminum. These are gonna go in steel recycling. This goes in aluminum recycling.
There's no reason not to reuse this unless you've already bought a new one.
Okay, I have already bought a new one. But I'll keep that one just in case. So now we're gonna do the same thing with the front wheel bearing.
I keep little things like this around the shop because they work out great for spacers or sealed drifts.
Yeah.
You never know what you could use a small cylinder.
Yeah, we could easily, hey, that's not flat. We could easily slice a ring off of it if we needed to. So we'll hang on to that. All right, so now let's go after this end first. It's got more play.
See if we can do the same thing.
So the reason we're pulling the bearings out is because the front wheel was actually bent. So those I'm gonna replace anyways, but I'm gonna get these powder coated so that they have a nice tough finish on them. And when they do the powder coat, they're gonna stick them in an oven to cure the powder coat, and that will melt the grease inside the bearings, and it'll make a giant mess all over the inside of the oven where they do the powder coating heat setting. So you gotta take the bearings out so that they can do that. And that's why we're taking the bearings out. And my philosophy is if you're gonna replace wheel bearings on a bike that has been abused in some fashion, or you don't know how it was ridden, like the KTM that I came into possession of, then you're better off, safer, just replacing all the wheel bearings and getting the experience of having done the work. Sometimes though, the work is a giant pain in the neck, like it's proving to be here. Because, yeah, and it's only a pain, yeah, because George is right. We don't have the right tools. If we had the right tools, this job would have taken 5 minutes, but that would have been a really boring video, and you would have had to buy crazy special tools. Here, we're using tools that you probably might have at your house. So you see what I was asking? I mean, yes, we might risk damaging the hub, but if we could pound this to move that, how would that damage the hub?
See, the problem is,
Oh, it's got a,
the inner race has a lip. What we could do, if you really get stuck,
which we appear to be.
which we appear to be,
take the bearing itself apart and get the inner race out, and then that makes it easier to get the outer race out. So So that's all a bearing is it's got little ball bearings inside it, in between two pieces of metal, and the inside piece spins around very fast when you're riding a motorcycle. You can try and pop one of those little... Do you ever worry about an eye wound?
I'm wearing safety glasses.
Those are not safety glasses. I bought you those. They're not safety glasses.
Close enough. I've got two.
Eyes?
Yep. All right,
What is that?
that's the bearing ring.
Oh, that's the thing that keeps the bearing in place inside the that keeps
Cage.
the ball in
That's the
place
bearing cage,
inside
sorry.
the bearing.
Yes. That's what goes poking out through your seals
Gotcha.
when your bearing fails.
And why are you pulling that out?
Because we're going to take this bearing apart. See if we can find another way to skin this cat.
Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the easiest way to take your bearings out of your hubs and 10 being the hardest way, where would you put this?
Depends on the tools you have.
In our case right now,
This is, well, hopefully this will be a 1.
but without the proper tools, this is a much harder job than it would be with the proper tools.
Correct. If we had a quality bearing or quality bearing puller like this,
That was the right size.
that was the right size for these bearings,
We'd have
we'd
been
be
done
done.
20 minutes ago.
yeah.
What do you think are the odds that we're going to spray those little tiny ball bearings all over the shop and trip on them for 6 weeks?
Negligible.
It's a pretty tough piece of metal.
Well, they're pop riveted together.
Ah.
That's it for the top half of it. And you see now digging out the bottom half.
That would seem like it might be much harder to pull out.
Can be.
Well, with the top half out, would you be able to get the inner race out?
Nope. Because the bearings are still, the ball bearings themselves are sitting in little cradles.
Ah, okay.
And as you see, as I'm pulling this race out, they'll start all migrating.
So each of the races has what, like a little dimple in it where
Yes.
the bearing sits?
Yep.
And then there's a top, what do you call that thing, a cage?
Cage. Cage is 2 pieces.
So there's a, yeah, the two-piece cage keeps the ball bearings in place. Wow.
See how that's kind of,
Got some little contours in it.
right. And each one of those has a top and holds a bearing, holds a ball spaced equally.
And now you can see that the balls are loose in there. They've all gone down to one side. And now we should be able to take that apart.
Maybe.
Maybe. That came right out. Oh yeah, see there's a little groove there that the little balls fit in.
And now that we've done that, of course it's going to be a real pain to get the last outer race out,
But we can take the spacer out and get the one underneath out, right? Or now we can hit the... Worry about mangling up the inside edge of the hub.
out.
So you can, I'm going to pull this around and see if I can. So there you can see the notch that we put in it that we were trying to do. Oh, sorry. And there you can see the channel for the, that's the inner race of the bearing. You can see the channel that the little balls go in.
And if you're going to do something like this a lot and you don't plan on buying the correct tools, which I would recommend buying the correct tools, but if you don't want to, before you install your new spacer, just take a flat file
and clean up the edges.
Nope. A Dremel would also work for this,
Okay.
but it'd be a little loud. So if you plan on replacing your bearings regular, just take a flat file and make a little notch in the spacer, 180 degrees or so apart. So that way, the next time you need to take them out, you can just take a screwdriver and it'll set into that notch and rest on the inner race and kick it out.
There you go. Oh, we hit the... So you can see there the piece of plastic that's right there. And then there's the outer race. There's the bottom of the outer race. And then you can see the groove that the balls fit in. This is a nice, good close-up. And there's the empty side. You can see the groove that the snap ring goes in right there. Well, at least I bring you interesting stuff.
Well, and this is one of those things that if the bearing had failed, if you did water crossing and got water in there and didn't take them apart and get grease in it, you might be up against this situation where your cage blew apart in your bearing, so you'd be left with this. And now you have to figure out a way to fix this.
So you're saying it's educational?
Yeah, this happens.
We probably want to be all the way down on that.
Okay. Now again, take that through, go to the top. Yep. And just give it some. Okay. Let's rotate it a little bit.
Back to the top.
Yep.
Is that me or you?
Yeah, might have been me.
Okay. Did I
Try
break
again?
anything?
Nope.
Ow!
What are you, Flavor Flav?
No, I hit my thumb. Are we moving it at all?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think we're moving it at all.
Doesn't look too promising, does it?
No, I think we gotta get that piece of plastic out of there somehow.
Well,
But it might be protecting the bottom of that hub surface.
I don't know if that piece of plastic is available separately, kind of thing. Once again, because it's not, it's outside
Right.
my wheelhouse.
That was pretty good. Stay in frame.
No.
So let's try to save it if we can. Seems like a weird place for a piece of plastic.
It is. Let's try this again. I mean, let's get serious about it. Go to the top of that. Your arm of plastic. Slide it down a little. Okay. I give it a hell of a hit. All right. We'll go back to heating.
Okay. So now we're gonna hit it with a heat gun.
For a very long time.
Doesn't damage the aluminum.
Nope. Or again, if there's an open flame, you might actually melt it.
Yeah, we don't need to.
Flames are substantially hot.
Yeah. We're hoping for 220, 221, whatever it takes. I had a spot there that was 217, 219, 210. Are we close enough? 223, 230. All right, I say we hit it. Am I holding or are you holding? Okay. Are you holding?
You don't have to hold it.
So on a, just safety tip, on a heat gun, you don't want to turn it off. You want to let it cool down on whatever its lowest setting is for a couple minutes before you shut it all the way off.
Okay. Yeah, baby.
Is it moving?
Yep. Go ahead and hit it.
Sorry, my aim is just not that good. Ow. Ah, that one hurt. I got my thumb pretty good on that. I think I split my nail.
Hold on.
No. So we're gonna, now that all the bearings are out and we saved the piece of plastic, we're gonna let this cool off a good long time before anybody tries to touch it.
Or 10 seconds. aluminum, dissipates heat quickly.
It's still over 100 degrees. So we ended up having to do the bearings on the rear hub kind of the hard way. We had to use a combination of heat, inappropriate tools, and destruction. We tore one bearing apart completely. There's the outer race, it's still hot. There's the inner race and a bunch of the little ball bearings that go inside it. We ended up getting the hub out, or the bearings out of the hub, and it's still pretty hot, even though it's been a couple minutes. So that's why I'm holding a towel. I'm not just a giant sissy, it's hot. So now these will get cleaned up. I know
He's a giant sissy.
you're a man. You have no feeling below the elbow.
I'm a man, I have no feeling.
I will run these through the parts washer and get them all nice and cleaned up, and then they'll go to the powder coater, who will rough them up and powder coat them. Most powder coaters can do any color that you want, so we might do a little bit of fun. And then once that's all done, these are going to get shipped out to Woody's Wheel Works in Colorado for new rims and a process that they use called super lacing that makes for tougher wheels for harder use. Remember that these are going to go on a bike that's going to be more or less dedicated to off-road use, so that's why we're going through all this trouble. Take it easy, and we'll see you next time. Say goodbye, George.
Bye, George.